And then we have conditional, which is basically if, elif, and else. Elif is a short term of else if. Are we good so far? If there's anyone not really following yet, please shoot your question to the message. So what is conditional? Conditional allows you program to make decisions based on specific conditions. If A happens, then do something. If I'm more than 18 years old, I can vote. If I'm more than 18 years old, not always, but I can drink, something like that, right? That is what conditions do. So in this case, the process goes first, define the variable age as 18. And if age is over 18, then you print, you can vote, right? Let's do it. Age is 18. And then if age is over 18, of course, we always need to have colon. When you make a conditional or when you want to do a for loop or define, when you want to make a block of code, you need a colon and then indentation. Print old enough to drink. And if we run it, it says old enough to drink, but let's change it. Let's change it to 17. There's no result, right? However, we can change it. So what if I want to print something else? If it's below 18, I want to print not allowed. We can run it. Now allowed? No, sorry. Not allowed. So if it's 17 years old, if print goes, we set variable age as 17, and then we test if the variable age is over 18. Right? In this case, because it's 17, this condition doesn't met. So it goes to else and say print not allowed. That's how it goes. Again, if it's 19, because obviously it only goes to this print old enough to drink, and then the line after this if, the else will not be run. Python will not run this else code at all because this condition is already met. So else condition cannot be met. It's exclusive. So this is what we just did. If condition met, run this if condition is true. Else, when we have else, run this if condition is false. So you can't run both, right? You always can run only one. And there is another thing that we can try is elif, which is when, if you can vote or not is simple, right? It's true or false. But there can be more than just one condition. You can have triple conditions, 4 conditions, or sometimes 5 different conditions, or many different types of conditions. In that case, you can use elif. So this means, okay, if the first condition met, do this. And if the second condition met, then do that, something else. And if nothing really met, if it's totally false, then do something else. This is how it works. I'm going to do this, and then we are going to have a small temperature checker, which is a workshop. So let's go this together. We are going to have a score variable called the score. Is say 85. Define it, and then if score is higher than 90, and say, very good. Elif score is higher than 80. Print still good. Else, in this case, there's no condition because it's else. Everything else, print, well done. And if we run it, we get still good, right? So its score is 85. So we have the condition becomes below 90, but higher or equal than 80. So you will have still good. What if we change this to if? Still, we have still good condition. But if we change this to 95, we have two different conditions, right? 95 meet, basically 95%. When score, if the score, variable score has the value 95, it meets the first condition and the second condition as well. So it prints two different lines. One is very good and still good, which is correct. So in this case, we want to use elif. Then in this case, what it happens is score is 95. So the first condition met, right? The difference is when you have elif, Python goes through the next line to the elif only if the first condition is false. In this case, because the first condition is true, Python ignores all the others. Now, we are going to make a temperature checker. So here's a workshop that I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Please do it on your own. Yes, to Hyunwoo, that's correct. Still, we can use if and if, but I wouldn't say it's not common, but not very common as well. So, but sometimes you need to use it when you want to sometimes definitely you need to use it. If you're not following or if you have any question, please raise your hand. And if you finish your task, please thumb up. Thank you, Paolo. Amanda, Agus, Amy. Yay! It's quite simple, right? But what I want to tell you is that programming is always easy in the beginning, and then there is a big step, super big learning curve, then you need to overcome. It will come very soon. But so far you can enjoy. Perfect. Thank you so much, Hyunwoo, for sharing the result. As just Hyunwoo asked, we use if. We sometimes use double if, but we usually call it nested if. So we can have if in the if. So in this case, if the age is 17, is the age over 18? Check it, and yes, it's over 18. then check again if the age is over 65. If it's over 65, print senior. If it's below 65 but over 18, then print adult, right? What if age is just 15? Nothing will happen, because anyway you need to go into the nested if to go into the nested if, you need to go through the first if condition. So first condition must be met to go into the nested, right? In this case, it will go to somewhere like else print baby, something like this. If the age is 15, it will go directly to else, and then it will print baby. Of course, you can have if age is, let's say, 10, print devil, and else is print baby, something like this. You can have, this is called nested, right? You can nest if you can nest for loop and many things. You can have multiple layers of if or multiple layers of for loop, but try to avoid it if possible, because having nested code or nested if, nested conditional or nested for loop will make the debugging process really difficult. Again, I told you during the first lecture that when you do the coding, gathering and cleaning the data is basically 50% of the entire process, and actual coding is 10%. And we have another 40% coming only for debugging. So you need to make code clean and flat as possible to make the other 40% of life much easier, right? So I will leave this as a homework. And then while you are doing any homework, if you have any problem, please let me know. I can definitely help you. And when we have conditions, we can have and or, right? Let's try to do this. Say age is 25, 26. One fact is, if somebody asks me my age, I always say 26. Nationality is Australian. I'm pretty sure I'm almost all the Australian. I'm the one with worst English. If age is over 20, and I'm using and here, nationality is Australian, print Australian adult, else print somewhere else. Here, very interesting point. Here is very important point that you need to remember. I will run it first and then I will explain you. It print Australian adult because basically age is 20, over 20, and nationality which Australian, because and it says and, means I need to meet two conditions all together to print this Australian adult. If I'm 18, if I put age as 18, then it's somewhere else. It prints somewhere else, means one condition didn't meet. But if we change it to all, it still becomes Australian adult, right? So it is really important that it is quite common to use and sometimes or sometimes use, to be careful to use it. And another thing I want to tell you is this part. So here, rather than just having one equal, you have two equals, right? So in Python, if you have just only one equal, it means you are allocating any value to the variable. But if you want to test if the values are the same, like equal in the real world, you should have two. If you have only one, then it becomes allocating. This is a bit unique in Python and C, and in case of R, it's just something. R is a different language. In R, when you allocate value, you use something like this, 18. So it becomes like, it looks like an arrow, right? So, but Python doesn't work it. So when you want to test if those two values are the same or not, or if those values are the true or false, you always need to use this double equals, right? To do this homework, you need to remember all those things that we have been going through so far.